Now, the gametophyte itself, so that was very general. Now, the gametophyte has male and female types. Male and female thalli. Then the thallus, this gametophyte is green. It can be rosette with rhizoids for storage and for anchorage. The upper side is usually green, but the lower side is colorless. So the part that is not near or towards the ground is colorless. So that's where the rhizoids grow. The upper surface has chloroplasts. So it's got cells with chlorophyll. Then gametangia may appear on the thallus sometimes as special discs. But in Riccia, which is a very primitive organism, very primitive species, it has the male and female embedded in the thallus. If you look at Mercantia, it has structures that are upright from the thallus. They are above the thallus on some stem. So this is example of the thallus. So you can see it's flat, it looks liver-like, and then you can see the reproductive structures, the male and the female reproductive structures, which are above the thallus. So the gametophyte, you can see is, well, maybe it may not be very clear, but it is bilateral. If you look at it, it looks this way. It's bilateral, so it divides into two. And you may get a new one there, and then again, you get that kind of shape. So it is bilateral, symmetrical. The rhizoids are, of course, found at the bottom. And then it is, of course, the rhizoids are unicellular. So this is just one cell making up that rhizoid, one cell. So the thallus is flat. In this case here, it's referred to as carpocephalum. No, sorry. The thallus has a carpocephalum, which is an umbrella-like structure, which is this one here. And the sporophyte will form underneath here. It will form underneath, of course, after fertilization has occurred. When fertilization occurs and you have the female, which are underneath, fertilization occurs and then you get the sporophyte below. So these are the flat type of thallus, and then these are the leafy type. So machatiophyta, you can get thalloid type or leafy type. These ones look more leafy, but they're still machatiophyta, and they still have almost the same kind of characteristics. So you can see this here would be the reproductive, or rather the gametangia. Okay, these are the rhizoids. The rhizoids, remember we said they are usually one cell, unicellular, and they can have various markings on them. So some of them have tuberculate, like little dots on them. Some are smooth. Some are, they have various markings on them. Some are ligulate, they have like ligules on them. These are the legumes. Things like it's like patchwork, okay? So they have patchwork on them. So we've looked at the gametophyte. Now, what about the sporophyte body? And we said you can have vegetative bits and reproductive bits of the sporophyte. Now, the sporophyte depends on the gametophyte. The sporophyte may have sterile parts to it. So sterile parts like the foot, that's part of the sporophyte, it's sterile. Then we have seta. This is also part of it. These other ones here, the calyptra and all those, these are part of the gametophyte. You see, they come from the thallus. So they are part of the gametophyte. So the sporophyte, which is basically this portion here, so it has the foot, the seta, and the capsule. So the sterile portions would be the foot, the seta, those are sterile. The very fertile, the sporogenous portions would be within the capsule. But even within the capsule, there are other sterile portions to it, like these elatas, these long looking, stuff here. These elatas are sterile. And their function is when the capsule is ripe and it's ready to dehisce and it breaks up, it's able to push out all these spores that are within. It can push them out of the capsule. So the sporophyte has various vegetative bits. So all those sterile parts, they make up the sporophyte, but they are not immediately needed for the formation of spores. They're not the ones that actually produce the spores, but they are necessary and they hold that capsule in place. So this is showing example of antheridia. Sexual, okay, we are now looking at the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, of course, happens within the gametophyte and the gametangia. So within the gametangia, we have one of them here, which is the antheridia. You can see it's a multicellular body, and it will give rise to sperm or the anthrozoids. The antheridia is usually housed in a structure that we call antheridial heads. So this is an antheridial head. Then, and you can see it is found above the thallus. You can actually see this thallus and how it divides. It continues to divide. The tips continue to divide. It's bilateral. It divides twice. As it grows, you keep getting this portion. This is now again twice. You can see this already is one, and thallus which had already divided into two. So every new portion that grows, divides into two. Now, so this is the mature antheridium, which is inside that head that we've just seen. The antheridia has a short stalk. It's itself looks globular, and it is circled by sterile bodies. So inside is where we have the mother cell. A single mother cell will form two triangular androcytes, each of which will then form a sperm. So each mother cell in here will produce 2 cells that will then produce the sperm. Remember that gametes are not formed by meiosis, okay? So meiosis had already happened before. So these will form cells. The sperm are formed by a mitotic division, not a meiotic division. So they form 2 cells. So that's a mitotic division. Now, once the antheridium has, it has produced several of the sperm, then it will dehisce, it will break down its walls to release the sperm. So that was the antheridia. What happens on the other end, the archegonia? Now again, archegonia are born on umbrella heads that we call the capocephalum or the archegoniophores. Archegoniophores are actually just this stalk. And then the head here is the capocephalum. Now, underneath this, that's when you see the archegonia. So it's on the underside of that head. You see the archegonia. So archegonia look like flasks that are upside down. So they have a long ventrum. This is the ventrum, and then they have a long bore. Inside the ventrum is where you have the egg forming. So it's pendulous, flask-shaped. So they have a very short stalk, which holds the whole structure. And then you have a ventral canal. You have the venter, which is the part which is big, rounded. And you have the canal, which is this part that, in the flask that is a bit constricted. So inside, before it ripens, the neck cells, the neck has rows of cells. There are many cells that are longitudinally placed. But after, the archegonia is ripe and ready, with the egg fully developed, then those cells here, the cells in that neck, will normally break down, they will disappear. And the ventrum canal becomes open. So then fertilization, of course, will take place, and you get back what we call the egg, the zygote. You get the zygote, which then develops into an embryo sporophyte. So the zygote becomes the embryo sporophyte, so it will develop within here. And then the sporophyte will then be able to produce the spore after, of course, after they have undergone meiosis. So the cells within, you have, remember I said you have sporogenous material and you have non-sporogenous material. The sporogenous material is the one that produces the spores. The other non-sporogenous, what we are calling the sterile, are supportive. So within the sporogenous material, we have the spore mother cells. The spore mother cells will undergo meiotic division to produce a spore tetrad. Tetrad, 4 tetrad, because of the meiotic division, and which will then separate. Get a tetrad first, then they separate. Then the other materials, anything else which is not sporogenous, is basically sterile. So the spores, which are now haploid spores, when they are released, they develop into the gametophyte. So for some, like in Mercantia, you will get male and female spores, which will give rise to male plant and female plant. That is the life cycle of the plant. So if we go through it quickly, where do we begin? Let's begin at this point here. So we have sperms produced, and the sperms will fuse with the egg, which is in the venter. And after syngamy, you get the zygote. The zygote is inside the venter, and it will develop into an embryo, and the embryo will become the sporophyte. So we get the sporophyte embryo, which is then in the capsule. The capsule then produces meiospores after fertilization, not fertilization, but meiosis, produces meiospores, and the spores then will germinate, and you can get a male and a female body if they are dioecious. If not, then they will just get the body, the gametophyte body, which then will continue to form the sperm. So you get antheridia, archegonia forming, and the whole process then continue. So that's the life cycle. Okay, I think we will stop there, and we will continue with the next groups in the next lecture. So we'll start at Anthoceratophyta. Okay, so class, are we okay?
Yes.
Oh, somebody was able to record. That's very good. Who recorded for us? Very well. So that recording, if you whoever recorded, I'm sure it will go to your email. Can you send it back to me? Can distribute it. So I think that is it for now. Members, let's meet. We are meeting on Wednesday. Remember? Wednesday 8. 8 o'clock. Oh, Tuesday, sorry. Tuesday. Tuesday 8 o'clock.
Notes.
Notes. Excuse me, madam.
Notes. Okay.
Yeah, notes.
Okay. Let me say, I'm sending them right away. I said I will send to, I have your emails now, so let me just use the emails that I have. And I think, is it Sarah? I'll make sure I send to you so that you can send to everybody in case they're not on the email. So just in a moment. So I'll send you lecture 1, 2, and 3 in a moment. So I'll just stop now and just send so that you're not using bundles for nothing.